You probably don't even hear it when it happens, right?
There's your friend in there, on the wall.
Regardless of Tony Soprano's fate at the end of The Sopranos, there are certainly a number of people who may have an interest in seeing him dead. So, without further ado, it was Tony who ordered the killing of Patsy's twin brother, Philly, nicknamed Spoons.
When Junior come after him, Tony went to the home, tried to suffocate his own mother.
You got a problem?
There's a twin bond.
Patsy launches into this single malt diatribe about how people can smile in your face and still be a villain. But it's gotta be hard coming into work every day, looking right into the eyes of the guy you know ordered your brother whacked.
There is something else.
When Paulie Walnuts was in jail in early season 4, Tony chose Christopher to be acting capo in Paulie's absence.
With Paulie in the can, there's a new acting capo of his crew. It's Chrissy.
Hey, Chrissy, sit down.
Obviously, Patsy's been a made guy longer than Christopher. He's certainly much older than Christopher.
We trust there will be no ill will. You put your grief behind you. Let me hear you say it.
I put the grief behind me.
I'm gonna go get a coffee and a bun.
When he's trying to convince Tony to let him go to Florida, along with the FBI, Deanne's really frustrated. She does not want to take no for an answer.
Tony, why don't you kill him? Put a bullet in his head.
I can't do that.
But you think I don't know that you've done it before?
And then Eugene dies by suicide. So Deanne now only has more reason to hate Tony, to feel like it's Tony's fault that Eugene's dead.
His master's voice.
Because keep in mind, she didn't even know anything about the FBI. So she doesn't really know just how boxed into a corner Eugene was. She said his master's voice, more like his master's voices.
It's your money, your aunt's money. It has nothing to do with him.
A year, 2 years from now, everything could be different. Tony could be gone.
So you are neighbors, guys?
That way I get guys with no ties to anybody over there. They'll be loyal to me.
Oh, the irony. Tony wants one of those Naples guys to come back over with him to the US to work. He wants someone who's 110% loyal. Like Furio, for example. Famous last words.
Cancer is everywhere in his body. Cancer don't respect nothing. You know, he started in his
You
guts.
need any money?
Please call and let us know.
Furio, come by.
He's already 40 minutes late.
But Carmela seems to fall pretty hard for Furio, and the feeling's mutual.
I know she's my wife and the mother of my children and all. But let me tell you something. She can be a moody bitch.
We know that the feeling's mutual because we hear Furio talk about it when he goes back to Italy for his father's funeral.
Essa è la moglie del boss.
Soprano.
Ma isso non sa. Non sono manco sicuro se essa l'ha capita.
Ma
Non l'ha mai data nemmeno un vaso.
meglio così, allora state lontano.
Non so se ci riesca. Io la voglio bene.
L'unico mezzo siamo è uccidere il marito.
Questo saggio.
So this isn't just speculation on our part, or on Carmela's part. And then, of course,
You're standing too close.
you're standing too close. You could probably say that to Furio, too. So the next morning, Furio's gone back to Italy. There's speculation that Tony actually had Furio killed and that the whole went back to Italy is just a cover story. It's also possible that Furio did go back to Italy. What if Furio comes back and kills Tony?
L'unico mezzo siamo è uccidere il marito.
Questo saggio.
These moments throughout the series with Furio, I think, highlight and illustrate why Furio would have reason to want Tony to be out of the picture.
What's the matter with you?
Sad for my father.
All right, but you gotta get over it. You know, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but since you ask, think certain people starting to wonder where your heart is.
People who? Tony?
You're only as good as your last envelope. You know that.
Nobody knows what the future holds, my friend.
I know I've mentioned this many times. Me thinking, is this guy really loyal to Tony? Doesn't seem like it.
You think Tony plays favorites like that?
I was just saying that to Junior. That maybe Tony fundamentally don't respect the elderly. How is Carmine?
He asks about you.
If there's ever anything I can do, anything, he shouldn't hesitate.
It kind of just escalates throughout the series. We get to season 3. Paulie's pissed off that Tony orders Ralph to only give him $12K instead of the $50K that Paulie feels he's entitled to from the proceeds of the Morristown check cashing store robbery.
Ralphie, give him $12K.
I can't believe this.
Why not? Last year you believed that flying saucer was over East Rutherford.
So Paulie thinks that Tony basically just cheated him out of $38,000. He needed that money for his long-range planning. Paulie later got more pissed off in season 4 after Ralph prank called Nucci Galtieri at Green Grove.
You hear me? Don't just look at me. This is a business. Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Let me hear you say it.
Tony's pretty hot. Bet you didn't counteroffer.
God forbid, if this gets really bad, there could be a change.
Tony? I'm only trying to bring good relations between the families, as I always do and always will, no matter what happens or who's in charge. If it's me, God forbid, or whoever.
I talked about this recently in another video, but there's a theory that Rhiannon is used by the Lupertazzi family to find out information on Tony's location to then take him out. And AJ picks Rhiannon up from school one day and they drive home and Carmela tells them that they're going to Holston's tonight for dinner. So the idea is Rhiannon then gets the message over to the Lupertazzi family and then someone shows up there at night. No way of proving it, but we do see a few pictures on the wall of Butchie's salon of someone who looks like Rhiannon.
Customs agents are bad for us, but anti-terrorism-wise, they're doing nothing. Sitting ducks here. The only thing between our homes and Port Newark is a chain link fence.
That's why you gotta live for today.
So this is admittedly a stretch because, to be honest, I can't see Georgie effectively executing something like this. But if Georgie had some friend or family member in his corner who was a little bit more competent than him, maybe.
Oh, it's mostly melting.
Well, you don't have to see the monthly statements from this place.
No, Tone, you're right. I don't.
Think that shit grows on trees?
Ice? No, I don't.
What, are you getting cute with me?
No.
What'd you say?
I said that's why you gotta live for today.
You stupid.
But he's got some hearing loss, one ear. Looks like it could be permanent. Thing is, Tom, he's quitting the Bing. And he told Silly, goes, and I'd appreciate it if Tony don't come visit me. He don't want to see it.
I don't think I'm money. Suddenly, I'm the schmuck.
In season 6, episode 16, Chasing It, Tony owes Hesh $200,000. And he gives Hesh a hard time about it when Hesh brings it up when Tony goes over there one night.
This is why I don't like you seeing him before bed. You're all upset.
What the fucking MSG? It's Tony Soprano.
The way that Hesh communicates with Renata after Tony leaves, it seems like this is a pattern of Tony's. At the end of this episode, Renata has a stroke and passes away. Tony ends up giving Hesh the $200,000. It's very strange how everything happens, and some theorize that Tony had something to do with Renata's death. We don't have any proof of that, but I will say it is pretty eerie timing. Hesh was worried about Tony taking him out. He survived, but he lost
Come on.
probably the most important
Tony's not
person to
gonna
him in
hurt
his
you.
life, so in a way, that's almost just as bad.
How you doing? Got new shoes. Soles are a little heavy.
License, registration, and insurance card, please.
In Season 3, Episode 5, Another Toothpick, Tony gets pulled over for speeding by Officer Leon Wilmore. When Tony tries to finagle his way out of the ticket, the officer not only doesn't go for it, but he actually sort of escalates things, asks Tony to turn off the engine, and then even calls for backup. Then, a little later on in the episode, after Tony tells Assemblyman Zellman about this, we see that officer, Leon Wilmore, is now working at Fountains of Wayne. Definitely someone who could say that Tony Soprano screwed them over. Interestingly, if you'll notice, the customer that Officer Leon Wilmore is talking with just prior to Tony looks like the guy wearing the members-only jacket at Holston's. You never know. If it wasn't Deanne Pontecorvo who set that up with members-only jacket guy, could it have perhaps been Officer Leon Wilmore?
Somebody beat him up, broke his arm.
God forbid.
Sal Vitro?
Poor Sal, what a nice man he is. He put my garbage cans out every time he cut my grass.
Sal Vitro is a gardener who happens to come into Feech LaManna's crosshairs when Feech gets out of the can, and his nephew, Gary LaManna, is also a gardener who happens to want to do the same block. Sal Vitro is not someone I'd imagine having murderous rage and a desire for revenge, but what about his son, who had to drop out of college?
There he is. Salvatore, my boy. How's that fit you now?
He's getting there.
Paul, say hello to Mr. Galtieri.
That's my middle name. Paul.
Such a sin. He fired his Spanish helper. Took his boy out of college because he couldn't afford it anymore.
How much longer do I have to keep doing this on the
Oh, so it was okay when we were getting you out of your Feech LaManna problem, huh?
But I appreciate that, Tony. Don't get me wrong, but
You're a selfish prick, Sal. You know that? Her husband's in jail. Don't you think this is the time when Mrs. Sacramone needs you the most? You know that? Her husband's in jail. Don't you think this is the time when Mrs. Sacramone needs you the most?
Hey,
We know that Vito Spadafore was killed by the Lupertazzi family,
my brother's over there.
but Tony also turned Vito down when he offered Tony $200,000
What's that supposed to mean?
to let him work from
She's
afar
just there.
in Atlantic City. For all intents and purposes, though, when Vito's family, like his brother, for instance, thinks of Vito being killed, he's not going to think, oh, well, I wonder which individual did it, or which specific family they were from. No, he's going to think it was Tony. He saw Vito go up to Tony at the mall and try to reason with him, try to make him that offer, and Tony turned him down. I'm sure that Vito relayed the news to his brother afterward. So, in their eyes, it's Tony.
First off, I pay my way back in. I got $200K that goes directly to you personally. No one else needs to know. I got contacts in AC. With your support, I could set myself up there. I'd be close, but not too close. Tone, please, don't turn your back on me.
Finally, here's a little twist. What about someone who wouldn't want to see Tony dead? Someone who may not have Tony's best interests at heart, but who otherwise would want him to stay alive. What about Carlo? Carlo Gervasi. At the end of the series, Carlo's son gets picked up and arrested for selling ecstasy. So there's a suspicion that Carlo is flipping in order to get leniency for his son. But if Tony dies, there goes Carlo's leverage regarding his son's case. If Carlo doesn't have any information to give the FBI that's relevant anymore because Tony Soprano's dead, the boss of this whole thing that they've been investigating for 7 years, what card does Carlo really have to play? I'm not going to include a long segment about the Lupertazzi family because we're aware that at the end of the series they're at war, that they want to take out Tony Soprano. So, what do you think? Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.